This time I have a Sony SL-HF900 Super Betamax that was shipped in to be checked over. This one here, I believe the guy that owns it picked it up off eBay. And, well, it's not in good shape. It's got a couple things wrong with it. It's got screws missing. Someone's been into it. I don't even know if this one's going to be fixable at this point, but let's give it a shot. This is an old Sony SL-HF900 Super Beta. In fact, I had one of these. Well, I have one. Mine's missing parts, so I used the drum from mine to fix it my SL-HF1000. This one here was shipped in. It looks like it's seen better. Oh, there's no screws in it. This is how it arrived. No screws. Okay, well that just makes taking it apart that much easier. Looks like someone's been into this machine. I see the loading mechanism is fully loaded, but check this out. The cassette basket is loose and the motor here has been removed. Someone's been into this machine for sure. Well, I don't know what to expect on this because, again, it was sent in pieces. The cassette basket isn't attached. Either are the screws that hold down the planetary gear set. I'm going to just unload the mechanism by hand. We'll see. I see this guide is not in the right position here. It's it should be locked in like this one, but it's not. So I'm just going to run this back by hand. Just see what it does. Whether this one can be fixed or what. See, that guide shouldn't be like this. That guide should be more straight. And it looks like it's not going to go down. It's going to jam. So that's part of the problem right there, is that one of those guides is in the wrong position. Whether I can straighten that up or not, I guess the first thing first is I'll have to remove the guide and see whether I can straighten it or not. Man, it's been a long time since I've worked on one of these, I tell you. That took apart one of these guides. This has been probably 30 years. Or if I can remember what I'm doing. But there should be a couple of screws here that I can remove to lift this out. This is the newer style guide. I might be able to fix it without taking it out too. I think what's happened is it's just sprung. So if I push down on the back of this, I might be able to pull the guide over. It's sprung back. It's supposed to face the other direction. I may have to remove it. So let's just take out the two screws here that hold it in place and lift the guide out. They've got glue in the threads, or the head of the screw, so I can't get the screwdriver in. Cover plate off. Now the guide should just lift out of here. Well, I think I gotta take off a portion of this side as well, just to give myself some clearance. Gotta throw a couple of other screws here so that the guide will lift out of here, so I can try to straighten it. Making sure there's heads there before I even start. Be something if the heads were ripped out of it, right? Go to this trouble to get the thing to thread, only to find out that the heads are snapped. All right, let's see if we can fix this guide. So these were the replacement guides, like for the SL2000 and stuff, that had that was part of the plastic base. This was the replacement guide that they made. And I'm going to try to get this. What's happened here is this pin, or the base, is on the wrong side of this retainer clip. But I don't want to damage it, so I may have to just kind of try to open it up a bit so that I can reset it. Like that. Take that out of there so I can get it on the other side. And then put it back in place. Put that pin back in. There. Now the spring should lift it up and it should stop. There. That's what this little metal lever is to do. It's to stop it from going too far. That's what locks it in place. But see, it's slipping past. Oh, the pin's not in place. That's why. Get that lock back in. There we go. All right, now it should lock up in place like that and fold down. Okay, let's put the guide back in and see whether it will go through the loading cycle. We'll put the guide back in. Move this one as well, this side of the guide. Take the track out a little more so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. Now I can see this a little better. Now you see where I need to mount it. Screw in through the little clip here and then onto the top. Okay, that's got the guide back in place at the proper angle now. Take the guide track back in. All right, let's just see what happens now when I turn the mechanism by hand. Aha, it's going that way. Why is it doing that? That's probably why it got pulled in the first place, is it's bent. See, when it loads, this should go under here because it's what's pulling the tape into position. It should slide down around here, under here. But it's coming up too far. It's either the base of it is broken, yeah, that guide might be damaged. Take another look at it. The problem is this base here, that little clip here, the spring basically that stops this from going back too far is bent. So I got to straighten this out a bit. Because when this is installed and the screws are put in, it actually pulls this down lower. So got to make sure that this little bend is, there's a little bit of a warp. I can see it right there. So I'm going to try to straighten that out a little bit and reattach it and see what happens. I tell you, there's so many of these on SL 2500s and 2000s and 2700s. So many of these failed when they were, well, the old style. This is the new style, but the old style guide. So many of those failed. It was just incredible the number that we had to change. They went to the metal design. The original ones, the hinge went through a plastic loop that was in the threading gear. Guide back into place, the railing back into place. Easier to see it on camera than it is from where I'm sitting. Easier to see a lot of things looking up at the monitor than from where I'm sitting right now, because the bench is quite high compared to my vantage point where I am. Alright, let's just run this through its paces and see whether it goes into place properly now. And that's how it's supposed to go. Guide locked in here, solid. This guide's locked in here, solid. I'm just going to run this through its paces a couple times manually before I try finding some screws to secure this in place and then try it under power. Again, I don't know if there's anything, I don't know what else is wrong with this machine. It may be totally dead, it might be a lost cause, but it certainly wasn't going to work with that guide jammed like it was, and it may not ever work again. I just don't know. But we got to start somewhere, right? So there's the shuttle block is all the way back. So when the tape goes in, shuttle block starts to pull through. Make sure that's locked in place. Shuttle block starts to pull through, starts to thread the tape right here. That's what's pulling the tape out. So the guide pins themselves are not under any stress. The tape is being pulled out by the main shuttle. The tape guides pop up. And lock into place. Just like that. So that part's looking good now. Okay, so now I'm happy there. The next thing I gotta do is find a couple screws to secure down this transmission assembly, which is a planetary gear set. couple of screws is all I need for this to hold it in place. I'm sure I can dig some up somewhere that will hold it. So I found 3 screws to hold the clutch assembly in place. Next we'll find a couple of screws, I guess, to hold down the cassette basket, because they're missing as well. I see there's a spring that's popped off here. This is probably what's wrong with this one, is the little spring that moves the eject sensor, the tape end sensor, which is used to detect when the cassette is fully unloaded to tell the system to eject it. The little spring is broken off right down here, which is a really common problem. And that's probably what went wrong with this, and somebody tried to fix it. They took it all apart and realized it was beyond their ability, but that's supposed to attach. There used to be a little post sticking up there. We take the spring and we just stick the spring down into here. What it does is it pulls this piece into place. So when normally the spring pulls it up like that. When the mechanism unloads, it pulls this back so that this little coil here is pointed at the metal post. It detects the metal post. It's a proximity sensor. So that normally holds it up like that, so that it'll detect the tape leader when the metal tape leader is exposed during rewind at the end of the tape. Quite a common problem. This used to be a little plastic tab here that stuck up and it break off. So we just need to take that and manipulate it and put it into the hole there. You know, the problem with LED lights is there's so many shadows that you're trying to work on something and you get all these little shadows because of all the individual bulbs. Makes it hard to see what you're doing sometimes. We stuff that in there like that, and that should make this portion work, so that now when the tape finishes its unload cycle, you'll watch this will rotate as the tape finishes its unload cycle. There's a little catch on the back side of the half load arm for the pinch roller that will pull that into place as I move it. And that is what tells the system that the tape is fully unloaded and it's time to kick the tape out. It's likely what was wrong with this when the person that had this before decided they were going to try to fix it themselves and really didn't know what they were doing. So say this one came in from across the country, and I think the guy that owns it, he bought it in this condition. So let's power it up and see now whether it will attempt to do anything. That part works. Thinks there's a tape in it now. Should eject. There, it's now ejecting. The tape door is jammed. We'll fix that. Let's hit there's a switch that's gone. That's not working properly too. Just take that switch out. I'm going to pull the mechanism apart and see why it's not completing the loading cycle. Okay, what else is broken on here or damaged or missing? These are the cassette down switches and the record lockout switch. Record lockout, cassette down. That's what tells it when there's a tape in that it's time to load. But there might be a broken gear on here or a timing issue on this front loader, so we'll just take that apart. Mechanism's not in time for one. This arm is all the way back, but this one's not, so there's a probably the gear is broken here. There's a piece missing off this gear, I bet. Is there a tooth missing? There might be a tooth missing off this gear. Just see here. Tooth missing off the back of this gear? I think there's a tooth missing. Yeah, there's a tooth missing off this gear. Right there. There's a broken tooth. Very common problem on these. Now, we might be in luck. We might be in luck because I had a viewer sent me a replacement that he made. And he said, here's a sample. I don't know if it's his gear or not. It might be this other one. I'm going to go take a look and see which gear he sent me. I know I got one replacement gear sent to me to try out. I love it how people tell me my shop is cluttered. I don't ever find anything, but the thing is I know where everything is. So this was a gear, nylon driving gear, and there's a fellow out there that's making them. And I won't reveal his name here, but if someone wants to know, I'll give you his info. If you contact me, if you're looking for these parts, because I've got his name and his address and everything here, that he sent me this just to try out and see whether this gear is going to be one that works or not. Let's just see whether it's the right gear first of all. He makes more than one type of gear apparently, but this is what was sent to me to try out. I haven't even opened it yet because I haven't had a machine that's needed one. So I figured I would just hang on to it until such time came that I got a machine that might need a gear. And this seems like this might be the perfect place to try it. If it's the right gear. That I don't know. Wrapped up well enough, that's for sure. Jeez. No, this is not. Well, is it? Is this the right gear? I don't know. Let's just take a closer look. Looks like it was 3D printed. This looks like it's the same gear. Okay, let's see whether this will work. It's 3D printed. It replaces this gear here. You can see where the part is broken. If we look at the gear here, there's a tooth right here that's missing, which causes the mechanism to go out of time. So it looks like he says he strengthened it a little here in the corner to stop it from breaking. I don't know how this is going to hold up. But we'll try it, we'll see, because there's no other way to get parts for these units. So we'll just separate this gear. Like that. And put the new one in place. There. That's more like it. Okay, let's try to reassemble the mechanism. Looks like this is out of alignment too, this piece. So that goes all the way down now on both sides. Raise it back up. Excellent. Okay, now get this other piece back on. We're lining up the hole here with the midway gear. And then the main loading gear, again, lining up the alignment hole with that in the bottom here. So you can see through there, and then the main drive gear, the worm gear that drives from the belt, and the side cover will pop on here. And it's held in place with 3 screws. You should be able to run this mechanism through by hand to make sure everything is good. And then we'll try reinstalling it and see whether this will thread a tape. Pulled the front right off so that I could reset everything. Look at all the rust in here. I mean, this machine looks like it's been sitting outside in a garage for, the last 30 years. So, am I holding my breath that this thing's gonna work? No, I'm not. I actually don't think this thing's gonna work, and I'll be pleasantly surprised if it does anything other than blow up in my face. Okay, I'm just gonna power this unit up and try putting it through its paces without a tape in it. At first. Oh. May help if I put the belt on. Alright, let's try pushing a cassette in. Oops, my door's not lined up right here. My door's kind of jammed. There we go. Alright, now push that down. And release that. That should load the tape. Excellent! That happens if I push play. Will things start to turn? Maybe my buttons aren't, my front panel's not on all the way. Well, that's a good sign. Eject. All right, well, I don't know if this gear is going to hold up, but we'll try a real tape in it and see whether anything happens. This mechanism seems to be still a little bit on the loose side, but I guess all we can do right now is just fire a tape in. Why is it not loading? Sticking. Something's sticking. Something's sticking. I did turn this mechanism through before. Oh, you know what? It's right here. It's right down here. I got it. Guide sticking on the track here. Let me just reseat this. Did it break? So you know what's happened? The plastic severed. Looks like it's broken. I have to try to secure that. That's what holds the end of that track in place. It's snapped off. Brittle plastic. So I'm just going to reattach, just use my soldering iron to do this. Melt the plastic back together to hold that piece of the bracket, the guide railing in place. Okay. There, now it's not sticking. Let's try it again. See if it'll thread a tape. If it threads a tape, will it play a tape? Oops. Okay. Well, so far so good. Will it play? No. That drum is spinning way too fast and I don't hear the capstan motor running. How about forward and reverse? That part works. There's no picture on search. Okay, so I got something on the screen now, but what we have is we have a drum that's running way too fast. If I manually slow the drum down by just slowing it down by hand, well, it stopped there, but will we get a picture? It stopped moving. Well, I think I see why the tape's not moving very well. How much tape is wound around the capstan shaft there? It's like, you can see this bits and pieces of tape. It's this machine shredded a tape at one point. Not my tape either. I don't think it shredded my tape. Pretty sure it didn't shred my tape. Nope, my tape's okay. But that would explain why it doesn't want to move the tape very well on playback, because there's a whole bunch of tape that is wound around the capstan shaft here. I can peel this out of here. Looks like a Scotch tape, back coated 3M. But at least I know now that this thing might be fixable. We have a capstan speed, or not capstan, a drum speed issue. Try loading the tape again and see how it moves the tape now. That all that broken tape that was wound around the capstan shaft is gone. There, now it's moving the tape. Now I just have to deal with the fact that the drum is going way too fast. That could be a shorted capacitor or something in the servo circuit. Sample and hold more than likely, so let's pull the bottom and see whether I can make this work. This will make this guy that owns this real happy, because I think he said he picked this machine up and it was a spare. So we're going to try and get this one running. I mean, I've done a few of his Betamax machines before for him, and he's got a few of them, so I'm sure I will see a few more. But let's pull the bottom off this one now. I can continue. Check the servo circuit out and see why it's running fast like that, because it certainly shouldn't be. You can see rust on here, so I don't know what to expect when I get inside. There could be water damage in here for all I know. But progress is being made. Hopefully this is the worst condition of all the machines he sent me. What do we have here? Besides dropping screws everywhere. Ah, boy. Okay. Ugh. This video over here. This is SS board. I think this is servo on here, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is our capstan servo over here, or our drum servo. I'm looking at the controls on here. Track control, tracking control center. Looking for drum speed, drum free speed. Look at this. This is a mess. So there's definitely been liquid in here. You can see it. Corrosion. Yeah, at this point I don't know whether this is even going to be salvageable, depending on how badly damaged the board is. I guess we'll try cleaning this off here to see if it's leakage. Definitely there's, you see all this corrosion around here, resistors and diodes and stuff. I'm going to get a toothbrush out, some isopropyl, and we'll try cleaning this up and see whether that fixes the drum running wild, because there's no servo control whatsoever on it, and it's running to full speed. So I mean, if you look at the IC here, look at all the corrosion down here on the pins. This IC might be toast, right? So this might be a lost cause, this one. I'll make that decision shortly, but we'll try cleaning this up first, see whether I can pull off a miracle. I'm not holding my breath on this one now. When I see damage like that and a bunch of corrosion here, you just don't know how far it's gone, and say an IC like that would be unobtainable these days. I think at this point what I really need to do on this one is get a hold of the guy that owns it and just let him know how extensive the damage is, because there's probably components in here that are damaged, and it's not just corrosion on here. I don't know whether the chip is bad. This is the drum feedback circuit for the drum servo, so it definitely is going through this chip here somewhere. There's corrosion on it. You can see corrosion on this side as well. There could be corrosion on traces that are underneath the chip, because you can see there's traces that go underneath it. There's traces that go under here and connect, so you see all this corrosion here. You don't know what damage has been done, so this could get very expensive to repair. And there's also no sound from the linear audio that's on the tape. So I'm going to throw this one together now. I mean this has obviously been wet. You can see where water or something has leaked through, right? And on the inside of the cabinet it's also rusted. So I think this is probably a write-off at this point. and I'm going to end up just pulling that gear back out from the front loader because, well, it's a good gear and it does do the job. So I think I'm going to pull the loading gear that I put in out of this one and then just throw this one together and have a chat with the guy that owns it, and we'll leave it at that. It's just I really like to try to save these Betamax machines when possible, but this I don't think is a good candidate. This is a parts machine at best is what this is, and it's just not worth spending any more time on it. See the inside of it's all this rust. This has been wet, and yeah, unfortunately it's just beyond economical repair. At least I fixed that part. Anyway, what are you guys taking away on this one? Well, now you know how to fix a guide that's sprung, how to take the guide apart and fix that, and you know about the rail that breaks here and how to fix a front loading mechanism when the gear is bad. Replacement gears are available. I think he sells this stuff on eBay. If anybody wants his email address, just send me an email and I will give you his contacts for his email address that he sells these at. So I'll pull the gear out. Might as well keep rolling while I do that so you can see how quick I can pull this thing apart. I kind of figured this was going to be a lost cause when I opened it up and found all kinds of screws missing. But we do what we can, right? Entire afternoon wasted on this machine. It's like 6:30 at night and I started this, got like 4 hours into this bloody thing already. You guys haven't seen it all because there's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but yeah, I've spent a few hours on this thing already today, and at the end of the day I have nothing to show for. Not worried too much about timing this because it isn't going to work anyway, right? It's the gear is broken, so don't have to worry about timing it. Just going to throw it kind of back together and leave it at that. actually, if this machine gets abandoned here, which I doubt it will, but if it does, it will be used to fix my SLHF 900, because I have one, but the head drum on mine was pulled out to replace the head drum in my 1000 to make my 1000 work. So my 900's got it's got a seized head drum, and the regulator's cooked on it. Like I already robbed the regulator to fix one of my 1000s before. So if this ends up being abandoned, then I will be using it to pick parts off of to fix my 900. So we might see it again. It all depends on whether the guy that owns it wants to pay to have it shipped back, or whether he tells me to dispose of it. Again, if he tells me to dispose of it, then I will be pulling parts off of this, namely the regulator and the head drum, to get my 900 up and running. Anyway, looks like water poured right in the top here, you see? It's right below the transformer where all that damage is, and if you look. So wherever this thing had been stored, and I'm pretty sure the guy that sent it to me told me he bought it off of eBay. But not in good shape. Oh my God, it's raining out, you know? It was sunny out a few minutes ago. I was thinking, gee, when I put this together, I'm going to go out for a ride on my bike. Unbelievable. Check this out. Like 5 minutes ago, it was bright and sunny. And now the skies have just opened up. I mean, that's not just a light sprinkle. It's just coming down in buckets. I'm waiting for the thunder and lightning because it's been very muggy today and humid. The conditions are ripe for a thunderstorm. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.